So the first thing I'm going to do is go to a different picture that's similar. This one is horizontal. Horizontal? No, vertical. And we're going to work with this one. So it's basically the same as what we had earlier, which you can see right here. We're going to try to replicate what that looks like. So I'm going to go to the first picture. When I do these long exposures, I usually have a smaller aperture, somewhere around 13, depending on what time of day it is and what the clouds are like. I run a ISO of 100 and I'm cropped at 26 millimeters. So this is going to be a 2-second exposure. I'm going to take 9 of them in a row. As you can see, the first one here was only 1/5 of a second, and it was a f4.5. It was really quick, so it's a little darker, and I didn't particularly like how that came out. So what I'm going to do is go through these 9, and the first thing that I do is, because I kind of struggle with how things look, I can't fully edit them all myself, so I use auto. I go to auto, Adobe Landscape for the profile, and I click auto. I pull the highlights down a little bit. I'm going to pull the shadows down a little bit, and I'm going to leave everything else where it is for right now. Now, I do use some different presets, some that I've set myself, some that I've purchased, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, I believe it was the, no, I think it was the rainy autumn days one right here, although I do kind of like the red sunset mood, but we're going to go rainy autumn days. Now I'm going to edit this a little bit more. I don't like how these are a little bit on the dark side over here, so we're going to lift the shadows just a little higher. You can see the highlights are down, and the exposure is only up 0.15. All right, so this is pushing a lot more clarity than I like, and I don't like that like HDR effect, so we're going to pull this back a little bit, but we are going to bring the texture up some. Next, I'm going to bring the vibrance up just a little bit to kind of make a little bit more pop out of this. And we are going to make sure that the chromatic aberration is out. I'm not going to level it just yet, and I'm not going to worry about spot removal. It doesn't look like there are too many things I have to worry about, but we'll see what happens afterwards. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to highlight all 9 of these images, and I'm going to press G to group them together. Then I'm going to synchronize all the settings. So I'll click Sync Settings, and we go into Synchronize. After a couple seconds, this is going to make every single one of these 9 images look exactly the same. I'm going to right click, go to Edit In, open Layers as Photoshop. So we're going to open up Photoshop. It's going to open up on my other monitor, and I will pull it over to this monitor here in just a moment when it's ready. All right, so here's Photoshop. Here's how this works. It will start to open each image as layers, and I'll fast forward through this part. Okay, so as you can see, I've got all 9 of these pictures in Photoshop now, and they're opened as layers. I'm going to highlight each and every one of them. I'm going to go to Layer and Smart Object, Convert to Smart Object. So this will convert it all to a smart object. Now everything is stacked together as a smart object. The next thing I want to do is go to Layers, and then I'm going to go to Smart Objects again and go to Stack Mode. This is where it's going to fully stack it. I'm going to pick Mean versus Median. I've experimented with both, and I prefer how Mean comes out. So we're going to click Mean, and this might take a minute also. All right, so now we have fully stacked this image. We're going to save it real quick. And we're going to go back to Lightroom. And once that shows up, it'll show up in here somewhere. There we go. I'm going to press the D key, go back to Develop, and now we've got our fully stacked image, as you can see. So it looks a little bit different. I might make a few last little tweaks, but what we're going to do is going to go to Spot Removal. I can see there's one right up there. We're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to go up to the top of, whoops. We're going to go to the top of this image, and we're going to take this little spot out right here. So I'm just going to take this, and I can't really see anything. Let me see if there's anything else on here. Really difficult for me to tell. I'm thankful that these little circles show up, even though it's much preferred that it doesn't happen. I don't see anything there. Sometimes you get them inside the water, but I don't really see anything. There are a couple down in the water, but that's perfectly fine. These little spots. Okay, that's cool. All right, so now what we can do is we're gonna remove chromatic aberration. We're gonna click the level button. I don't really like what that did. I think it's pretty leveled how I had it. There's a lot going on, and I don't think actually leveling this in any direction or modifying it is going to make it any better. So I kind of like how it is. So this is actually a little bit more representative of what the sky looked like that day, to my knowledge. You can go back and do like some crazy stuff by adding an additional set of, you can change things like the point curve and make it a medium contrast or a stronger contrast if you like. But if you do that, then it's going to get a little darker and you'll pull up the shadows some. Now, mind you, this is not a raw file anymore. Excuse me. This is not a raw file anymore. It's a TIFF file. So basically similar to a JPEG, and unfortunately, you won't be able to edit it very, very well. You can make some light edits to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the texture and the clarity up just a little bit. If you want to find spots a little bit easier, you can always pull the dehaze up, which is going to make it look really ugly at first, but then you can spot them a little bit easier by the naked eye. So I'm going to take that back to where it goes. Although sometimes pulling the dehaze in is kind of nice, it makes it real dramatic, but I don't need it for this. I'm going to leave that where it is. And then you can start doing things like noise reduction and make things look a little bit smoother even. So let's zoom in. I like how clean and crisp this looks for the most part, even though I was at 26mm. I wasn't zoomed in far enough to really grab the good clarity on these windows and stuff. But if you really wanted to smooth things out, you could use the noise reduction on the luminance here. You take a look down at the water, or if you look at the building, you're going to see it's kind of blurred and smoothed. One thing that you can also do, which I don't really get into too much, but a lot of these presets will do, is they have preset reduction on the luminance, saturation, and hue of oranges, yellows, greens, things like that, which can really make things start to look really wild. So I kind of can't really play around with those just because I can't see color super well. But some of these images, or some of these presets, as you can see, they have some really wild things going on. So that's pretty much how this works. And I will edit or export this one. We're just gonna shoot this one out because it's pretty much done. I'll share this on Instagram at some point, I'm sure. But that's exported, and that's basically all this is. Whenever I go through these, let me go a little further up. Whenever I go through these, some of you might have seen this one before. It's one of my favorite ones that I've ever done. Actually, it's right here. That's one of my favorite ones I've ever done. This is a 15-second exposure stacked a ton of times. I think I forget how many times I stacked this one. But basically, oh, wait. It's my bad. Where is it at? Here it is. This one right here. This one is a 30-second exposure stacked 9 times. So that's 30 seconds times 9, whatever that ends up being. What is that? 450 or 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 30 seconds, somewhere around there. Anyway, I can't math right now. It's too early. But the same thing, same process. You take one image and you, let me reset this. This is what it started out like. And then you just stack it and do exactly the same thing. Any of these images. Now this one is, 30 seconds, 27mm f11. This is a little bit smaller than I wanted it to be, but you can't really, I couldn't really do much with this one. It's super dark, and unfortunately, it didn't work out exactly as I wanted to. It was getting too dark out. But anyway, that's basically how these all work. Oh, file cannot be found. That's basically how these all work out. And if you ever want to see how any of these are done in the future, I'll be happy to do so. Have a good day.